many entrepreneurs, there's a really big aha moment when you realize that passion alone does not make for a successful business. There's actually a little formula behind really getting to extraordinary success. And it has to do with knowing how to package, price, and promote your offerings so they're truly magnetic and appealing to the people that you want to work with most. And I hope it's high-end clients. Hi, it's Melanie Benson here, and I'm known as America's leading small business optimizer. And you're here for the Small Business Optimizer podcast, where I show you little strategies that reduce the overwhelm and give you better, more effective ways to grow exponentially your impact and your income. Ultimately, I want to free you up so that you can do more of what you love. Now, today, I've invited someone who I've known for a really long time, Elizabeth Purvis, to come join the conversation. Now, let me share with you a little bit about Elizabeth. Elizabeth is the founder of Goddess Business School and is a mentor to thousands of conscious women entrepreneurs around the world, teaching them how to price, package, and market their services so they can create extraordinary income and impact. Now, for our male audience who's tuning in, and I know you're out there, don't tune away. You may actually have clients that this is going to really help you with, and who knows, maybe you're going to take a thing or two from Elizabeth and my conversation today and be able to apply it into your world too, because bottom line is it's the same for men as it is for women.
Yes.
So Elizabeth, thanks for joining into the conversation today. This is a really, really important and really what I consider a pivot point for a lot of entrepreneurs when they realize like, oh my gosh, they've got this passion, there's this big idea, but yeah, it can't just stop there.
Right. It is such a pivot point, like attracting our biggest, one of our biggest specialties at Goddess Business School is teaching people how to attract and enroll high-end clients. Mm-hmm. And it's such a pivot point because before that, either people are kind of new in business and they're looking at, exactly, I have this big idea. I don't know what to do with it. And when I do have something to offer, I've got to start, charging peanuts basically.
Right.
People start with like, well, I don't have the experience for that. And I don't have this and that. And I don't have everything I need. And so they undervalue themselves from the outset. And then if you've been in business for a while and you haven't been pricing and packaging your services in a way that truly creates that time and financial leverage for you, then you realize it's like, it's such a big leap to go from, serving 20 or 30 clients for a couple $100s a month to enrolling these high-end packages and having just a few clients and making either the same or more money. So,
and there's some real logic to this conversation, and you have to really decide what kind of experience do you want to create for yourself.
Yes.
Because some people love having lots of small dollar clients who are paying $100 to $200. That's a different business model. Mm-hmm. And for a lot of service providers, there can be a lot of, let's just say there's a sanity boost when you go from working with thousands of people in these automated programs to really being selective and bringing on a few high-end clients. And it has everything to do with what do you want, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really the first place. If you're a service-based business owner, there tends to be like kind of an order of operations. And it's the first step to really designing your business the way that you want it to be for your life.
Yeah.
Because most people find that if they jump straight to the online thing, there's just a ton of setup that has to happen. And that's what I've always wanted to do groups. I've always wanted to do stuff online. But when I was earlier in my business, and even when I was past the getting started point, I had been in business about 2 years. And I was like, I still don't have the list and I don't have all the resources that I need to really launch these group programs and have them be successful. And yet I'm like slaving away in this other kind of low end way of packaging my services. So and I was working my bum off. I have a 2-year-old, so bum is our technical term here, right? But like I was working my tail off, and I know that you know what this is like, right? So that, transforming my packages into something where I was providing so much more value with less of my time for a lot more money, it created this first little bit of space from which I could figure out what to do next. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you are a much more powerful creator and visionary when you have space.
Oh my God.
You're like compressed and it's like, oh my God, I got to make stuff work, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or I have to get money, I have to make money. It's like if you're undercharging for your services, And, you can have clients, but you go through that money very quickly and you've sold your time basically.
Yeah.
So you're always in this place of gotta get another client, gotta get another client. And that's really exhausting.
Yep. Totally.
So, yeah. So it
Yeah.
was like this breathing room. And then I turned right around and offered group programs, but I would never have had the space to do all that had I not implemented this first.
Right. So so you've talked a little bit about why there was a catalyst in your life to create something that's more attractive to the high end. Where's this? So let's talk about what happens when you're starting your business or you're wanting to improve your business.
Yeah.
What's the place that you're at that oh my gosh, I need to really focus on optimizing that pricing and packaging part of the equation?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you where it was for me. I mean, it's interesting. I am all for people doing this right out of the gate. And I was actually very lucky to, at a certain point, I was able to do this because when someone actually pointed out to me, this is what you can do. And it was in fact a mentor who challenged me to do this. If I could do it over again, I would have done it right from the very beginning because people, the only thing that stops people or that really stands between you and implementing this wherever you want is your mindset. If you're newer in business, sometimes you have the mindset, I'm not ready. I need to have more experience. I need to do XYZ. None of that is really accurate. You can package your services in this way right from the start and it sets you up because once you have the packages, it's just about increasing your fees and upping your own game as you deliver the programs. So that's one awesome entry place for it. And if you can start with these right out of the gate, that's what I highly recommend. And some people, when they're super new in business, that's not where they are, and that's okay too. And then a little bit later on, when you hit that place of, wow, I don't have any room because I'm either chasing after clients who can't afford me or rather chasing after clients who are telling me I'm too expensive. That's the interesting thing about charging kind of the dollars for hours or doing lower fees. You tend to attract people who don't see the value.
Yes.
Right? It's this weird, counterintuitive thing where when you increase your fees, you actually attract better clients. So when you're at that place where you're not charging enough and you have some clients, but you're working too hard with them and you're chasing after them and you're like, your stuff is worth more, but the clients aren't seeing the value. That's where you can put this in because the packages are really designed to offer incredible value. And it's very easy when you know how to put them together to talk about that value and stand fully in it. Does that make sense?
Totally. And again, I waited way too long to do it too. I had that luck of the draw where, when I came out, like people were just hungry to buy stuff. And, my topic was so new and unique back then that people were like, I just need to get out of overwhelm. I'll buy whatever you have.
Mm-hmm. And the virtual teams is what
yes, exactly. Which merged eventually into, the virtual team building.
Mm-hmm.
But when the economy changed, this became a very important element, is really looking at that whole equation. And so I guess, that's what I would say is if you notice that you're putting stuff out and it's not selling, you're putting a lot of time and energy into designing these really awesome packages full of all this stuff and they're just going nowhere.
Right.
That's also a really valuable sign that you need to take a step back and look at this equation in your business. So
yeah, and honestly, the thing that the very first thing to look at is what is it that you're offering and what is the transformation. When things aren't selling or people aren't buying, there's some place where you're not meeting people with what they really want.
Right.
And that often, your ego has to take a bit of a backseat because you become really attached to like this, package with 12 meditations, helping women become who they really are, or whatever it may be. That's not where your client is. That's not what their languaging is, even though really that's kind of what we're all doing today, right?
And tell me, do you see this one all the time? Like, and this is coaches. Coaches are big on this. We start talking our coaching process language and our sales process, and people are like, that's not what I want. People really understanding how you're packaging and messaging it is key. So let's
Right.
talk a little bit about um, let's maybe guide people through a couple of the steps of what is the process to go through to really up level your positioning on your products.
Oh, such a great question. So the very first thing is to get clear on what you're really offering. Most people don't understand what really their clients are investing in. And for my clients, most of my clients are transformation professionals, as I call them. And so their clients are investing in some kind of change, right? For other businesses, your clients are investing in some kind of result or outcome. And so when we teach people how to create high-end packages, this is the very first place we start. What is the result or the outcome that the client wants? They want, to lose the last 30 pounds. They want a better relationship. They want a better sex life. They want more intimacy with their children. They want to get clients and grow their business. They want fertility. That's a big thing. A lot of fertility consultants work with us. Right? But you have to be very clear on what is that transformation that your clients want and what is it in their terms and their words. That's where you really start to see some traction, is where you are meeting your client exactly where they are. And that's always where we start. That's step one. And then the next step is to design your program in such a way that it takes people through this process of change that they go through. Again, I'm speaking primarily to transformational professionals. There's other ways to put high-end packages together, especially if you're like a service provider, like a website designer or copywriter or something like that. You would do it differently. But if you're a coach or practitioner healer, you're teaching people how to implement some change in their life. There's a process that they go through, and we want to design our program to match that process. And what that turns out to be are some very, very specific kind of program components, if you will, what I call the doodads.
Yes.
So we start off with
technical terms.
Right, the technical terms. It's like there's certain ways that you put the program together that make it very, very high end, that make it an experience. I loved how you talked about it being an experience. It's an experience for your clients and for you. But there's ways you put your program together so that you're delivering a ton of value in less of your time that you can authentically charge more for, right? And then that's the next place that we go. And usually that means, starting with an intensive that covers a certain amount of, topic. It includes creating content for your program, or at least outlining your process in such a way that your client can understand it. Like, there's a process, even if every one of your clients is different, there are certain commonalities. So we pull those out into a step-by-step process. So your client goes, oh, I see. You're going to take me through this, 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 and this. Right. And so then we, put your intensive and you have your content, and then you have a certain, follow-up process, whatever that looks like for you. And there are all kinds of like super subtle things we put in along the way to really empower you to deliver amazing results. Because the two big things I hear all the time with this, where people get tripped up, is like, oh my gosh, Elizabeth, I can't charge that. No one's going to pay for that, which is just, we could have like a 4-beer conversation just on that one, right? Like I could talk about that to the end of time about why people will pay, right? And they will. That's the short version, is yes, your clients will pay. But that's the first thing. And then the other thing, really, the niggly that comes up is I can't promise results. How on earth can I take $10,000 to somebody and then how am I going to deliver on that? And it's really of course, it's in your leadership, right? It starts with who you're being and and how you're, showing up in your program.
Right.
And when you have the structure in place, I'm a former engineer, actually. I have a master's in computer science. I'm real big on structure. And when you set the structure up, and I know you are too, what with virtual team building, right? But like when you set the structures up correctly and you put little things in place, you can relax. You don't have to worry that the value isn't going to be there. And you can instead channel all your energy into being this facilitator and this amazing agent of change that you know you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer in this process. So.
Oh yeah. But it's like when you really know how to design your program well, it takes some of the pressure off of you.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a huge aha for me way back. I was like, OMG, like I have this way of working that I know is going to be a solid framework for someone to come in and really get what they paid for.
Yeah.
And that's what we teach people to do. And then there's the pricing piece, and it's actually, the price of your program is a big, big part of this whole thing. Like the price of your program actually facilitates some of the change. It's one of the things that sets the stage for working with you, which sets the stage for the whole thing. So it's kind of like those three steps, like, the transformation and then the structure and the price, what we take people through.
And, a lot of people think pricing is just taking a dart and throwing it at the wall to see, what sticks.
Right.
So what I hear you saying is there's a little bit of science behind pricing it in a way that is, it's going to sell. So I want to ask you something. This is like jumping up and down in my mind.
Okay.
How important is it in this process to really have a clear understanding of who your ideal client is?
It's critical.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I say that with a place of like, you get to start where you are. You're going to have a greater understanding of your ideal client 2 years later than you do now, right? But before you start, it's like everything in business is about your ideal client and their wants and their needs and their desires. And when you really understand that, everything gets easier. And when I say, I want to put a caveat here, because again, you don't have to be perfect. I happen on the StrengthsFinder test, that empathy is a big one for me. Like that's like my lead strength. So I'm really good at understanding where my clients are. And even if you just make an attempt to really understand your client and you do the work and the research and you have the mindset of, I'm going to meet my clients where you are, even if you're like 60 or 70% of the way there when you start, you're going to be light years ahead. What you don't want to do is design this entirely from a place of what do I want? And this is one of the big mistakes that I see people get. You mentioned it before. People get so attached to their process. They're like, but I want to teach women how to be who they really are.
Right.
They'll say, I'm trying to think, I'm in the middle of teaching our system to, 220 people right now. We just did a big launch for our flagship program, Platinum Program Secrets, where I teach this process. And there was someone in there, and I see it. Well, there were several people, right? I see it where they'll say their offer, and we'll come in and be like, that's not quite landing. I don't know if they understand that, or I don't think that quite hits the nail on the head or whatever. And people will start defending, right? They'll be like, but it actually is clear. And here's why. And you're going, you have a choice in that moment. You can either really go into a place of service and be like, okay, I really don't know exactly. I don't know this as well as my clients do, right? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah. And I think that, most people like to argue for what they're attached to instead of recognizing that you're here because your process isn't working.
Right.
And one of the parts of the process is you're marketing to everybody and you're creating these programs for everybody instead of really getting clear who do they best serve and then designing everything around that, which really, in my opinion, puts the financial flow on autopilot.
It totally does. And I will tell you, one of the reasons why I'm so successful in business is because of this program. And the reason why, and the reason why it works so well is because it meets people exactly where they are at like the biggest pain point ever in the history of anything.
Yeah.
And that's what you're looking for as best you can. Right.
Right.
And, what's really cool is that when you do that, you get to keep your process. Like you get to do your process at the end of the day. And we haven't even touched on this. What I'm here to do is teach people how to manifest, and I teach magic and manifestation. I have this whole woo-woo side, create your own reality, right? I'm in the create your own reality business. And this transformation is a perfect vehicle for that. And I have been teaching my heart work by way of this, for years now. So you get to do it all. You get to like have it all. And when you meet people where you are and you start to build, so now I can actually talk about some of the more esoteric stuff, and people are with me because I have a following and people know me, and I've got some
trust.
Yeah, there's some traction. So I can talk about that now. I have some credibility there. But I always knew when I first started this that like I was going to be serving people in the way that I was supposed to by focusing on this and really showing up and being, and meeting them where they are.
If you're a small business owner working way too much in your business, then you're not really putting your business to work for you. And you could benefit greatly by learning how to develop a team of world-class players to help you accomplish more and literally free you up to get more done. Now, we all want to shatter our income goals. We all want to be able to accomplish much greater results, but it's really difficult to do if you don't know how to delegate masterfully and be able to get the right things off your plate to the right people who will really get things done. That's where the power of the virtual team comes in. Be sure to get your copy right now at virtualteamebook.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot about how this works, but I want to take a step back and really figure out a little bit more about Elizabeth. And I am a firm believer that and I've seen it over and over and over again, that many of us, we get to these places by failing at a lot of stuff.
Hell yeah.
Finding was there a real pivot point for you around a failure or realizing this just doesn't work that caused you to really kind of entrench into this niche?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I'll tell you. This was my there was a progression that I went, and I am intimately familiar with being so up in my banana and not paying any attention to what the clients want, being so in my head. So I quit my job in January 2007, and I quit my job from this place of, OMG, I am in so much pain. I cannot be at this place anymore. And so what that meant is I quit on a wing and a prayer and had no backup plan, and I had no anything. Now, back then there wasn't the same kind of resources we have now. And you were around back then because you were on my radar. I remember.
I've been there for a while.
Yeah. But back then it's like we had a fraction of what we have now. And we didn't have like the client attraction types of resources that we have now. But anyway, but there was stuff there, right? And I quit my job and I immediately tanked because I was really forced to come to grips with who am I and why am I here? And then I was forced to come to grips with, OMG, I have to actually offer something people want. And I have to figure this out. And it was very painful. It was really a solid 2 years of being in the tank. Like, it was really awful. And the first turning point came where I just got to this place of, because I was running after all these shiny objects. One guru was like, you need the Facebook following. And this is, back in the early days of Facebook, but it was like, you need the Twitter and you need the LinkedIn and you need the Facebook and the rock and roll air. And I was like, okay, so I'm doing that. And then, you need the website. And then back then, info products were going to save the world. So I had to have products. And I was chasing after all this stuff, and I'm not making any money. And months are going by, and I'm going more and more into scarcity. I had come from this really, near 6-figure engineering job, and it was not in my blueprint to not be making money and to feel like a failure. But I was chasing after all this stuff, thinking that I could just kind of like sit back on the beach with Mai Tai and sell the info products, and it wasn't working. And I got to a point where I was like, this is ridiculous. So like worrying about money every night is ridiculous, and being in scarcity all the time is ridiculous, and not having clients, and I'm just not willing to do it anymore. And I asked myself a really important question. What does it really take? I said, what does it really take? This is crazy. What does it take to get clients? And immediately the answer appeared. I also gave myself this manifestation experiment. I was like, I'm going to make $50,000 in a month. Like, I had to get myself out of my head, right? I had to make it fun, and I had to kind of like, just like
do something different.
And I said, what does it really take? And I realized, wait a minute, I don't need a website. I don't need info products. I don't need social media. What I need is an offer. And then I need to get on the phone with people and ask them to step in and work with me. That's it. That's all you need. And no one was talking about that at the time. So at the end of 30 days, I hadn't made $50,000, but I'd made $20,000 from scratch, just doing that. And it was like, holy crapola, like I just kind of blew my mind. Now, of course, what happened is 5 minutes later, all that money was spoken for, and I didn't know how to package my services, and I didn't know any of this stuff about high-end programs. I was just kind of winging it, right? And I went to a training. I went to my coach training, and my mentor at my coach training said, "This is ridiculous. You need to start owning your worth." And I was like, "I can't do that, blah, blah, blah." And she challenged me in front of a room of 40 people to ditch all of my programs and offer high-end programs. And that was the second breakthrough. The second break, it was the same process. Create the offer, ask people to work with you. Like, that's it. But then I knew how to like actually price and package my services so that I was creating some leverage. And it all started. So does that make sense? And then I was off and running after that. At that second time around, I made 40,000 in cash, and that was enough for me to be like, okay, now I can move about the cabin, you know. But it all came from that place of just stopping the insanity and going, what is really required here? And then in order to actually sell something, ask people what it is that they wanted and meeting them where they are.
Yeah, you know, we're interesting creatures as human beings. We like to make things really complicated.
Things really
it's
hard.
It's really not that hard.
It's really not that hard.
And we do a lot of things because our ego gets attached. So
yeah, and I was so. I mean, there's more to this story.
We have to do the shorter version today.
Yeah, because my identity. I will just say this because I know you understand this. My identity was so fixated on the story I told myself.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what the story was that I told myself, but I was so fixated on doing things a certain way.
Yeah.
That I was literally in like this straitjacket in quicksand because I was like, no, I've got to do it this way. And I was so afraid of what people would think if I let it go and I really kind of followed my heart and the truth.
Yeah. You know, that's why I created my Money DNA Mastery program, because the internal stuckness is oftentimes that story we've locked onto. So I totally get that.
It was 2 years of story. And I have such compassion for myself because it was so, you know, and I had invested 5 years essentially creating this other identity that I thought I was going to do with my life.
Yeah.
So it was breaking free of that. But the sooner that you notice when you're attached to something, when it's no longer serving you and let it go, like the faster you create results.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you really quick. I've got 2 more questions I want to ask you, but did you find that in this new version of your business, the one that worked, what did you have to really focus on making work better or optimizing in order to be able to scale your success?
Oh, you're going to love this. It was accepting support.
Yeah, 90% of my guests say this. Yes.
Yeah, well, I was in a holding pattern. So after I figured out how to make money, and one of my favorite mantras is making money is easy. It is easy, right?
Yeah.
What you discover is that this is not a one-man band or one-woman show or whatever the hell, right? Like, being able to receive support and truly like being able to allow a partnership to happen. And it is so many, again, we could talk about this for ages and ages. So many mindset shifts are required in order to truly start bringing on people to allow the growth. But that was pivotal for me. I didn't think I was worth it. I had all these crazy stories. We are patterned. We're just conditioned to do it all. So some of it is this just like reconfiguring one's head to not do certain things, like things that need to be off your plate, you know, and then the micromanaging. I mean, like all that was the biggest thing. And a lot of it, I mean, for me, so for my personal journey, the biggest aspect of that support has been about building relationships, really, because you can learn like all of the tactics and the strategies to run a team. And I know that you teach those all day long. And it's a relationship first and foremost. And it was very interesting to discover how all my stuff around relationships and intimacy was showing up.
Oh, yeah. That's a deep part of learning how to have a really powerful team, is to recognize that we're attracting people that totally make us get confronted by all our relationship shit.
Yeah. And I
So,
was like blind to that for like
yeah.
3 years. I was just either in denial about it. I mean, it was so hard.
Yeah.
It was so difficult, and then the other thing that I learned a little later on, and this was sort of a new, so then I started to attract the team, and I have an amazing team now. They're phenomenal. Then it was the next big mindset shift I had to have was this mindset shift around how much am I responsible for teaching and mentoring people,
Mm-hmm.
and what's really my role? Because I got into a place of basically teaching everybody how to do their jobs, which is another way of weirdly
Then you kill your
micromanaging.
profitability and your productivity when you do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really, but I honestly had this, it was one of those like, holy cow, ahas I had, especially for me because I am so good at sales. I was mentoring my team on sales
Mm-hmm.
until I realized, wait a minute, it's actually not my job. It's not my role. I don't say not my job, but like not my role. That's not what I'm here to do. I mean, I was spending all my time mentoring my team on sales in some form or another. And meanwhile, we're not making any. That was a problem.
Yeah, here's the big distinction, and then I'll move on to my next question. But you bring up such a great point. It's like to really understand, is it your job to do, which is really, the entrepreneurial hat that many of us stay stuck in, is like, I do it all. Or is it your role to manage people and projects, which most entrepreneurs hate doing, but they fall into?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it my job to lead and inspire, which means you have to hire the right people and then let go?
That's right.
And that's what we all need to move into, but it takes a little bit because we're retraining our mind.
We're so retraining. Yeah. I mean, it's this process of relearning, basically, because when you're in the 9 to 5, which is where we all start, it's just so foreign.
Yeah.
We have to learn how to see ourselves as leaders, which most of us aren't born with. I mean, I myself, the whole reason why I came into this world instead of the other world that I was in, which was fiction writing, is that the resources for becoming the self-confident person that I wanted to be were here. Meaning I didn't have that before. I was just very, very low self-esteem and very, very low confidence. So I didn't see myself as the leader and inspirer for a while. Like, even though I was one and I was one to my clients and they saw me that way, it's like it took a little while for me to catch up.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, I'm a firm believer in quotes and little mantras that we say to ourselves.
Yeah,
most of us work in our own environment. Some people have teams around them. I don't. I don't know if you do, but I use a lot of quotes and mantras to stay inspired. Do you have one that is really like your favorite one?
Yeah, well, I have a question. I have a whole bunch. I mentioned one, making money is easy. That was huge.
Yeah,
because I was like, what would happen if making money were easy, right? And then another one that I use a lot, especially with my clients, for myself, and I remind myself that when something doesn't go as I planned, or I let myself down, or whatever way, I bring myself back to the truth, which is every act of commitment is really an act of recommitment, because we are constantly, it's not about being perfect. It's about bringing yourself back to the path when you stray.
Yes.
Or bringing yourself back to, it's like, it's okay that you didn't get the 10 clients you wanted this month or whatever it is. The important thing is not to quit. So that's a big one. And then the other one that I've been using recently, that really just pulls me right out of my crap, is, are you going to let XYZ run the show? So if I'm in a spin out or something, or I'm stalled or I'm stuck, I ask myself, what is really running the show here?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it's the inner 4-year-old, or it's, the inner 4-year-old for me is a big one, or it's my fears, or, it's like a money story or whatever. And I just ask myself, are you going to, and you can tell you're letting something else run the show when you just feel crappy, and you feel like, it's not like the excitement of, oh, am I really going to do this? Like that I am about on the precipice of the next level and you're kind of quivering, or even I'm on the precipice of the next level and I'm freaking out. It's the spin out, you're in like a funk and you can't kind of like get yourself back on track. I always ask myself, what's running the show right now? And is that what I choose?
That's a good one.
Yeah, and it helps me.
And it's really, you got to get control of what's going on in your mind if you want to create higher levels of success, because that saboteur is so powerful and it is sneaky.
It is very, very sneaky. It is very, very sneaky.
And insidious. It'll show up in all kinds of ways that you don't realize until all of a sudden you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm not myself. I'm sabotaging. So
right. Or I'm like, there's something if there's something I want to create and it's not happening, or there's like I'm not picking up the phone and making the phone call for whatever. And that's a big, ease and grace in this business. A lot of times is about picking up the phone and making a phone call.
Yeah.
And yet we're afraid to pick up the phone. So are you going to let the story run the show? Or are you going to let the monkey mind run the show? Or are you going to let the inner 4-year-old, which is big for me? I mean, right now I've barely shared this with anybody, and I hadn't planned to share it today, but I'm really clear that there's things that need to change in my eating habits. And I found a great program, and I'm on the path, and it's like freaking awesome. But it really got down to, are you going to let the kindergartner run the show anymore? Are you going to let this, whatever's in the background, are you going to let that stay running the show? Or is it time for you to really be empowered and make different choices from a place of what you really want? And it just gets me right back, because it reminds me that I am not the inner 4-year-old. I am not the whatever. It's a part of me we want to integrate and, not reject or whatever. But it doesn't have to be the one in charge, and that our higher selves can be the ones that call the shots.
Good. I like it.
Yeah, good. I love that question. That's a great question.
Well, we're all inspired in different ways. So I love to find out all the different ways that people get inspired. It's amazing the range of, all the way from Nike's Just Do It to, really provocative questions. So let's get into your resource, because we're getting really up against the wire here for time. And I know you have a resource, and it's sometimes people are in this pivotal place and we're going to catch them where they're like, this is exactly what I need next. What could we share with them that would help them really figure out this little mystery between pricing, packaging, and promoting their programs? Yeah,
we have a great report, and it's very easy to read. It's actually very meaty, but you can skim it basically in 5 minutes and then go back to what you want. Okay. It's our 3 high-end clients in 30 days report, and I walk you through exactly the steps to get 3, 5, 10 high-end clients in 30 days or less. And it takes you through the whole process, shows you some of the myths and mistakes. There's also some templates and checklists in there for you to get started. I had people go out and do stuff with reports like this on their own. And it just really lays out for you exactly what's involved in going from wherever you are now with your pricing and packaging to creating high-end programs that sell and that you easily sell out of. Great. I love it. I think that's super valuable. And we've got the link right here, but if you're listening on audio, can you read them the link name? Yes, it is bit.ly, so bit.ly/Melanie-Elizabeth. bit.ly/Melanie, like Melanie, -Elizabeth. And that'll take you right to it. Thank you. And sometimes just a simple shift in your perspective, the way you're looking at something, can give you a huge breakthrough. So whether you're already successful, but you're thinking, now might be the time that you can really maybe up-level the game and streamline the way you're serving your clients, this might be exactly what you need to be able to make the shift in your service side of your offerings. And if you're just getting started, as Elizabeth said early on in our show today, sometimes just figuring out what you need to do and doing it right out of the gate will save you thousands of dollars in bad websites, bad advice, bad, undercharging, you spend years and years and years struggling. Like, let's just avoid that whole mess and just do it right out of the gate. When I look back at my own journey, even though I was lucky the way I got started, this was a real pivotal piece of information that I missed out on. So I'm so glad, Elizabeth, you were here today to give us this piece of the puzzle and help people figure out a more effective way to put their programs together. So hopefully you guys will go get that. I think it's a really valuable resource. And so here's one thing that I'm going to ask you as the listener today. I want to know, what's something you can take out of today's
session. Let's just imagine this is a really, really good deal on a coaching session because you just had two people who charge a lot of money per hour.
That's true.
Great advice. So if you could put this into action today, what's one thing just simple thing you could put into action to make your business perform better? Love to hear it in the comments. And if you're listening on iTunes or Stitcher Radio, you can head on over to Melanie Benson Strick. You just type in Elizabeth Purvis in the search bar, and you can just head right down there on the comments section. We've also got all the links to connect with Elizabeth there as well. So thanks for tuning in today. I appreciate you so much. I always love hearing from you. I love your support, knowing what's your action coming out of it. And Elizabeth, thanks so much for making the time. I know you're busy in the middle of teaching your program, but I just knew that there'd be some great insights that we could share with the small business community today.
Yeah, happy to do it. And it's always my pleasure. And thank you very much for your platform that you've created and how much value you're giving the world through this, and for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, everybody, we'll see you again next week for another really valuable show on making your business work better. Bye, everybody.
Bye.